Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. We're into NFL Week 14. Thursday Night Football got a good one here. Green Bay's on the road in Detroit. Let's do it.
Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, like I said, Packers are on the road in Detroit for this one. The Lions are laying 3.5. I see some threes popping up, though. It's either 3.5 or 3, depending on your sports book. Total sitting at 51.5, pretty much across the board here. Let's take a look at the pie charts, and according to the data, action's coming in pretty split on this one, maybe slightly leaning towards the Lions, but not much. 55% of the tickets, just over 50% of the money. As I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. So why don't we start with some injury reports, specifically the Lions defense, because if I had to guess, this is probably the reason we're seeing so much action come in on the Green Bay side. The Lions defensive front is decimated. I'm going to pull up this tweet because I feel it tells the story here. So of the projected rotation on the defensive line for the Lions entering the season, only McNeil is active. Every single other piece is out. We take a look at the depth chart here. DJ Reader is now out. Anzalone's been out a couple games now, or I think this is going to be the second game he's missed. Now, the good news for the Lions is not all of these injuries are brand new. Hutchinson's been out. Davenport, I don't think he's played all year. Derek Barnes has been out. So a lot of these injuries, I mean, you look at the depth chart and it's shocking. Not all of them are brand new. I mean, this defensive front has been pretty beat up mostly the entire season. And I know you might be concerned about the second half of that Thanksgiving game against the Bears. Caleb Williams was definitely able to move the ball a lot more fluently in the second half because they couldn't do anything in the first half. Keep in mind, there's the added element of these pieces were thrown in on the fly. They've now had over a week to prepare for this game and get acclimated to being into the starting lineup. I think that definitely helps, in my opinion. And by the way, it's not like this Lions defensive front has been getting crushed here. Like I said, a lot of these injuries have been around. I mean, these are not new injuries. The Lions defense has been lights out against the run. In weeks 4 through 9, it was a little bit concerning. 5.54 yards per carry, over 124 rushing yards per game. Look at their last 4 games. They're allowing 3.41 yards per carry, under 69 rushing yards per game, 25.4% success rate per rush. And it actually gets crazier than that. Most of the damage has come via the quarterback. Opposing running backs against the Lions in the last 4 games have done basically nothing. If you take out the quarterbacks in the last 4 games against the Lions, opposing RBs have 62 carries, 161 yards. That's 2.6 yards per carry. So, all right, the Lions defensive front is banged up, no question. Are we really just considering this Lions run defense to be bad now? They're really going from one of the best run defenses in the NFL to a terrible run defense? We think this is a terrible run defense now because the numbers are not showing that. Now, no question, this is the most banged up they've been, this matchup here, but I'm not willing to put my money on Green Bay just coming into Detroit and running the ball in this Lions defensive front. We haven't seen any team do it yet, certainly not in the last 4 games. So anyway, let's get into the matchup. Green Bay offensively 2nd in yards per play, 15th in success rate. Lions defense 10th and 4th. So pretty evenly matched on paper here. Now, as far as the Green Bay run game goes, I mean, it's been pretty good, but these numbers don't exactly blow me away. In their last 3 games, 4.2 yards per carry, 130 rushing yards per game, 41.2% success rate per rush. That's against the Bears, questionable run defense. The 49ers, questionable run defense. Dolphins have been pretty solid against the run, but these numbers don't exactly blow me away. Just because the Lions defensive front has some injuries, I don't know if the Packers are going to be able to run the ball in this game, which means Green Bay definitely needs Jordan Love to produce in this game. So let's take a look at the matchup for Jordan Love, and he's had trouble with this Detroit Lions team. Through 4 career starts against the Lions, 62.9% completions, 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, just an 82.1 passer rating. He hasn't been very good against the Lions. Hold up, quick update there. So I just said through 4 career starts. He's actually made 3 career starts against the Lions. He came in the second half. So 4 career games against the Lions, he only started 3 of them. And to be fair, one of them was in the pouring rain. So we'll include that as well. But regardless, not the greatest looking numbers here against the Detroit Lions lifetime. And what I really found interesting about that Week 9 matchup is they didn't really blitz him. Detroit's a defense that blitzes all the time. In that Week 9 matchup, Jordan Love, when blitzed, he was terrible, by the way, but just didn't see many blitzes. 2 of 9, 10 yards, an interception, a 0 passer rating. Now, it was pouring rain, and maybe that's why the Lions didn't blitz him. They weren't scared of him making throws because of the weather. That could certainly be it. But this Lions defense, like I said, it blitzes a lot. They're 4th in the NFL in blitz rate so far this year. In this matchup, now that there is no weather, obviously they're indoors. So in this matchup, without the weather factor added in, I expect the Lions to blitz Jordan Love a lot, and that's not good news for Jordan Love because he is much, much better when not blitzed. When blitzed, Jordan Love is 31st in completion percentage, 25th in yards per attempt, 32nd in PFF passer grade, 37th in big time throw rate, 34th in turnover. You can look at the left side of this graphic. It's bad. He's really struggled against the blitz this year. Much, much better when not blitzed. Detroit 4th in the NFL in blitz rate. And honestly, the matchup just keeps getting worse and worse here for Jordan Love. What else do the Lions do defensively? They run a ton of man coverage, a ton of cover one. Actually, they're first in man coverage frequency, first in cover one frequency, also a decent amount of single high safety looks. How has Jordan Love performed against those coverages? Well, bad news. He's much, much better against zone. All those big time throws, those downfield passes we see from Jordan Love, they mostly come against zone coverage. Second in yards per attempt against zone coverage, 32nd against man. Also, we mentioned how the Lions were first in cover one frequency. How is Jordan Love against cover one? Not good. Amongst 36 qualified quarterbacks against cover one, 28th in completion percentage, 25th in yards per attempt, 25th in pass rating, 27th in turnover-worthy play rate. So to reiterate, the Lions are first in man coverage frequency, first in cover one frequency. They run more man coverage and more cover one than any other defense in the NFL. Jordan Love, terrible numbers against man coverage, terrible numbers against cover one. And check it out. The Lions, as we said before, they also run a lot of single high safety looks. Shocker. Jordan Love much better against two high safety looks. Some more bad splits here for Jordan Love. So I know everyone's expecting this injured Lions defense inside. Jordan Love's just going to come in here and light it up. I'm not really seeing it here. I don't like this matchup for Jordan Love. And by the way, we keep mentioning these Lions injuries. They're all to the defensive front. The secondary is completely fine. And this is a Lions secondary that's actually playing really well. Entering the season, I thought this secondary was going to be terrible. I was so wrong. Look at the Lions' numbers against the pass this year. They're actually pretty good. 6.7 yards per attempt, an average opponent pass rating of 75.2, 48.9% success rate per dropback actually isn't very good. But this isn't the terrible pass defense. This isn't the awful secondary that we were expecting to see coming into the season. The Lions secondary is actually playing pretty well. So as a whole on this side of the ball, I know a lot of people are expecting Jordan Love and this Green Bay offense to come in here and just do whatever they want on this battered Lions defense. I disagree. I don't like the matchup for Jordan Love, and I don't expect the Packers to be able to run the ball much. This is still the Detroit Lions. Even with the injuries, still nobody's running the ball on this team. So I think the Packers offense is going to struggle here. I expect the Lions defense to rise to the occasion. I expect Dan Campbell to have these guys ready. I like the matchup for the Lions defense. Now let's flip it over and look at the matchup on the other side. We got the Lions offense against the Packers defense. Obviously, we know Detroit has the edge on this side. Third in yards per play, first in success rate. Green Bay defensively 13th and 27th. This Packers defense really struggling to get off the field this year. Now, unfortunately, we do have to take a look at the injury depth chart on this side of the ball as well for Detroit. Not nearly as bad, but Taylor Decker is out, who's probably, arguably, the most important piece of that Lions offensive line. Now, this Lions offensive line is still loaded without Taylor Decker, but certainly that's a huge loss. That being said, on this side of the ball, Green Bay's not 100% either. Jair Alexander is going to miss another game. Edgerrin Cooper is going to miss another game. So the Packers defense isn't 100% either. So let's get into this matchup. And why don't we start with the fact that Green Bay has been lights out against the run in their last two games. Out of nowhere, 2.9 yards per carry allowed. 42 rushing yards per game. That's against San Francisco and Miami. It's not like they played scrubs. 27.6% success rate per rush. So this Packers run defense, this Packers defensive front, playing their asses off right now. Now, does that mean we can trust this defense to stop the Lions' run game? I mean, we all kind of look at this Lions run game as invincible. And the truth is, we have seen a couple games recently where the run game didn't look all that fluent. Both those games were on the road, though, at Houston and at Indianapolis, just 3.7 yards per carry, over 121 rushing yards per game. Their last two home games, however, were pretty violent. 5.3 yards per carry, 196 rushing yards per game. So something's got to give there. I mean, Green Bay's been playing great defense against the run. Maybe they are able to slow it down with no Decker. Maybe they are able to slow it down a little. I have a hard time believing that Detroit's run game is just going to get shut down, but I could see it being down close to 4.3, 4.4 yards per carry. I could see it not being a complete explosion on the ground. I think Green Bay will be able to limit it a little bit, which brings us to the final matchup we have to look at here. Will Jared Goff be able to throw the ball on this Packers secondary? Well, Green Bay runs a lot of zone coverage. 75.6% of their snaps are in zone. That's fourth most in the NFL. Jared Goff, better looking numbers against man. In fact, he's the best quarterback in the NFL against man coverage. Not that his numbers against zone are bad. I mean, 10th, 6th, 15th, and 22nd, but certainly much, much better against man coverage. The Packers very rarely run man coverage, so okay, there's something if you're looking to back the Packers defense here. And I actually have another thing for you if you're looking to back the Packers defense here. Green Bay does not blitz. 26th in blitz rate. They do not blitz much at all. Jared Goff much, much better against the blitz. You can see here top 10, top 15 pretty much in all these categories when blitzed. When not blitzed, 25th, 35th, 28th, 27th, and 8th. That's how you give Jared Goff problems, generate pressure without sending extra rushers. Green Bay, I mean, they don't generate a ton of pressure, but they're 16th in pressure rate. They're pretty middle of the pack, and like I said, they don't blitz often. So, all right, there's another thing. If you're looking to fade Jared Goff in the Lions passing attack here, there's another thing for you. And I hate to be the one to say this because everyone just loves this Lions team. They've become America's team. Everyone's rooting for this team. But the passing attack may be trending in the wrong direction a bit. It's hard to see because there was a game against Jacksonville mixed in there where they went absolutely nuclear. I mean, the Jags are a bad secondary that run heavy man coverage. That's Jared Goff's wet dream, are the Jags. And he went absolutely nuts against the Jags. In weeks 3 through 7, he was going off, right? 278 yards per game, over 68% success rate per dropback, 11.8 yards per attempt, an average passer rating over 140. It was video game numbers. In the 5 games since then, if you take out the Jags game, which was just a beautiful matchup against Mac Jones and a terrible, terrible secondary running man coverage, 193.8 passing yards per game, under 7 yards per pass attempt. Average pass rating down at 97.9. So this Lions passing attack might not be looking quite as fluent as you think. Look what happens when you isolate it to just the last 3 games. An average pass rating of 84.5. Now, the 5 interception games in there, which is skewing these a bit. But still, this Lions passing attack hasn't quite been that practical joke video game explosive passing attack that we saw a couple months back. We saw it briefly in the Jacksonville game, but other than that, I mean, Jared Goff and the Lions passing attack has looked a little vulnerable. I mean, it's still one of the best in the NFL, but we all have it regarded on such a high level, so much higher than any other passing attack in the NFL, and the truth is, it hasn't quite looked that insane. Now, all that being said, I actually do have a couple angles I like here for Jared Goff. One of them being Green Bay runs a lot of cover 2, over 23% of their snaps, 4th most in the NFL. Jared Goff lights out against cover 2. 2nd in yards per attempt, 2nd in pass rating, 4th in big time throw rate. I like that. And more importantly, what's going on with this Green Bay secondary? This team just forgot how to defend the pass. In weeks 2 through 7, they were allowing 18.2 points per game. 5.8 yards per play actually isn't great, but they were allowing under 217 passing yards per game, an average opponent pass rating of 82.3. This is in weeks 2 through 7. Look at the last 4 games from Green Bay's defense. They are not playing great right now. I mean, 21.8 points per game isn't bad. 262.3 passing yards allowed per game. That's But look at the efficiency numbers. They're allowing 6.4 yards per play, over 52% success rate, 8 yards per pass attempt, almost 60% success rate per dropback, an average opponent pass rating of 105.8. And yeah, Caleb Williams is in there. Trevor Lawrence is in there. I mean, it's not like they played the most elite teams in the NFL. I mean, Detroit's in there, but that was in the pouring rain. So as much as I think Jared Goff and the Lions passing attack may be overvalued right now, this Packers defense isn't very good, and I do think Jared Goff at home should be able to make some throws on it. So I like the matchup a little bit for Jared Goff. I don't love it, but I definitely like it a little bit, which is why when it comes to betting this game, I mean, I know every quote-unquote sharp's going to be taking the Packers here, and I get it with the injuries, but I'm leaning the other way, especially now that there are flat 3s available. I'm leaning towards Detroit. I actually bet the under at 51.5. Everyone's expecting a shootout. I actually like the matchup for the Lions defense. I think they're going to play well. So 51.5 is just way too high in my opinion. So I bet the under at 51.5. I might bet the Lions at -3 as well. Lions and under for me. If you'd like to see all the bets I currently have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on open bets. Also, make sure you check out the live streams and all that. Hit me up in the Discord if you need me. Be sure to bet responsibly. Later.